Hello, friends, and welcome back to Market Shares. I'm your host, Tony Blodgett, and this is going to be a little different kind of episode than what I typically do. As you guys know, I'm usually talking about mortgage, real estate, and everything affiliated with that. And I thought today, you can see my shirt, I'm going to talk a little bit about the off-road shop that you guys have heard me mention that I'm an investor in. And I brought on my business partner, Dana Swanson, who we're going to have a great conversation about, what led to this kind of adventure that we're on together, and a little bit about, the process of starting a business, and just kind of our philosophies around customer service. And I think there's going to be quite a bit of tie-in between mortgage and real estate and running this type of business, or frankly, any type of business out there. So Dana, I want to welcome you to Market Shares.
Thanks, Tony.
Are you excited for this?
I am.
Well, so, I'll just kick it off by saying, I've been a Jeep off-road enthusiast, not as much into Jeeps, but really the off-road culture for most of my life. Started with dirt bikes and side-by-sides and things like that, and then got into Jeeping and overlanding, quite a few years ago. And like anything that I do, I don't do it, part way. And so when it came to really starting to customize some of the rigs that I had, I did some work myself, but I'm certainly not a full-time mechanic nor an expert at those things. So many of you watched, if you follow me on social media, the build that I did with my 2006 LJ with a friend of mine in my shop. And that was about, that took a lot of time and a lot of work. And so with my other vehicles, I've relied on people like Dana, and specifically Dana is my go-to guy for off-road work. So that's really kind of how we met. Dana, why don't you give a little bit of background on, your time in the off-road industry and kind of how we met?
Okay, I started in the late 80s in the off-road. Started for Olympic 4x4, worked for them, worked for other shops, probably 25 years in the off-road business. In between that, I did a couple other things with the mortgage business. I worked for Les Schwab, which was really good for me on learning how to serve people and take care of them. And then about 4 years ago, I had somebody come up to me and say, "Hey, let's start an off-road shop." And so ended up doing that, and that was really successful, and that's where I met you.
Yeah.
And things were going really well. And then things weren't going really well and parted ways abruptly. And that's when I started thinking I should start my own thing.
Yeah.
Had an investor that was hot and heavy on doing this, and we started talking about what it looks like, and he decided that it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
And then I remember the day that it all went down, where I got let go from the other shop, and you were the first person that called me and said, "Hey, what would it take to start our own shop?" And at first I thought you were joking, because it takes a lot of money. And so I thought it was funny. You were the first person to call me on my way home, and then you offered, it's like, let's get together and figure this out.
Yeah.
And at the time I had that investor, and so I'm like, okay, let's figure this out. And then he fell through, and then I can't remember, did I call you, or how did that happen?
Yeah.
Something happened. I can't remember how it all.
Yeah, I'll tell you my version.
Okay.
I'll tell you my version of the story. And when I first started going to your old shop, I didn't know any better. I thought you were the owner. I didn't know you were the general manager. I didn't know any different. It didn't really matter. I just knew that you took great care of me. The customer service and working with you was always phenomenal. I asked for some really, off the wall things that I wanted done. I wanted a fuel tank from Australia. You said, I'll figure it out. Everything I kind of asked for, even if it was a little bit out of the box, you were like, you know what, I'll do some research. I'll get it to you, and I'll let you know what it's going to take to get that done. And I really appreciated that customer service. You mentioned that you spent some time in the mortgage business, and we've talked off screen here, and I know that you're very familiar with really a program that I followed early on in my career, which was by referral only. And I attribute a lot of my success to that program and really that philosophy of just giving world-class customer service, knowing that it's not about the transaction you're working on. It's really about the referrals and the long-term relationships. Matter of fact, the first book that I ever read when I was 19, 20 years old, getting into mortgage, was a book called Raving Fans. And Raving Fans is really, that's what by referral only is all about. And I hadn't seen that level of care around customer service and follow through in other industries, because so many people don't do it, but you do it. And it really meant a lot to me, and I knew that I could count on you. And so when I heard that, they had let you go from that off-road shop, kind of like, I'm like, well, if you're not, like, where are you going? Because wherever you're going, I'm going. And I remember you sharing with me that, hey, I think the plan is to start an off-road shop, and I have an investor. And, I actually had some business going on at the time, if you remember, with the shop, even during your departure. And, so I was following up with you going, hey, you still going to be opening that shop? And then you told me things fell through. And I said, look, I'm an investor. I've talked about it on this podcast. There's lots of other things besides my day job that I, get involved with. And I like investing, whether it be in stocks and I got, some crypto and real estate. Obviously, I'm a big investor in real estate transactions and some private money and hard money and stuff like that. And to me, it all kind of falls in the same category. And you didn't know this, but I had been thinking for a long time of how could I invest. I was thinking about investing in an existing business. I thought that would be a good entry into owning a company. But honestly, in talking with you, it really is like investing in an existing business, because you have so many years in this industry and you have such a loyal following of customers like myself, that I knew that, investing in you wasn't just investing in you, it was investing in your network and what your dream was to build. And so I remember you said, hey, we have a business plan. We actually even have a location. And I was like, well, look, I love to invest. Maybe come over. And you and your wife came over, sat down with me and my wife, and we looked at it. And I said, besides that logo, I love everything about what you got going on here. And we Bree came up with this awesome logo, which I love. But it was really a cool story, I think. And for me, it's something that I'm passionate about. But the reality is you run the business. I mean, I swing by once in a while and say hi, or I drop my Jeep off still to get work done, just like I would anywhere else. But this is your baby. You and your wife Bree are awesome, and we've done. I did help a little bit with obviously getting the business set up, and then helping to recruit some talent. I recruit for a living, so putting that effort to work and finding a good shop foreman, and which led to a great mechanic, has just been really phenomenal. So
and our team's amazing. We have a shop foreman that I don't have to babysit. We have a mechanic that the shop foreman taught, and then I have Bree up front that watches the front, but she also does all the social media. And then you kind of have a different twist on different industries, and so it's kind of fun when we go back and forth and do stuff that's out of the box for the off-road industry, but for a normal company, it's not out of the box. So I've really appreciated that. And then we've partnered with a lot of people, and it's amazing where that's going.
Yeah. Do you like my 7, 8 o'clock calls at night? Because I'm working all day.
Oh my gosh. We'll be sitting there on the couch, and you'll be calling up, and we'll be laughing, or you'll send me pictures of something, and it's just like, that's a great idea. And I'm the same way, and that's sometimes you're out of town and I'm calling you up to run something by you, but you're either on a plane but it's just like, you always call me back, but it's like, I want to talk to you now.
Yeah. Well, I talked about this. To me, this off-road shop is kind of a side hustle. And those of you who watched my episode a while back, look, I have a full-time job, and that comes first. But this is this is cool too. So, we do it in the evenings, we do it in the weekends. Dana runs the day-to-day. But I want to talk a little bit about the process of starting the business, because it was something that I hadn't done. I mean, I've ran big teams. I've been involved in the mortgage industry at an executive level, but starting a company from scratch was a little intimidating, and I didn't know what I didn't know. So I just want to walk through a few of the things that we had to put in place. The first thing I'm going to mention is we had to find a location, and you had already found a location and you showed it to me, and I freaked out because it was gigantic.
Too big. It was, I walked in there and it was 50 by 120. There's no way. We wanted to get half of it.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let us have half of it. And the location though was perfect, and it was on the market for a while too. It was really bizarre, that whole location. I don't know why it was on the market. And then you originally were looking for a building or property. So we kind of hang back a little bit, and then it all came up. It's like somebody else is looking at the property.
Yeah, it accelerated quickly.
And we needed to pull the trigger. And because I really wanted a brick building. In my dreams of having a shop, it was in an old brick building.
Yeah.
And when you were looking for a place to build or something, I'm like, maybe I'm gonna get my brick building, that kind of thing.
Well, I'll tell you my thought. Because I'm a real estate investor first, I was thinking, let's buy a location, and if for any reason the business doesn't go as planned, I can release out the building, no big deal. Or if the business does phenomenally, it's paying the mortgage on this building. So for me, that was like my first choice. That's where I went first. And that's one thing that I would say to anyone else thinking about opening a business is, if you can buy the location, I do think that that's probably the preference, but to get the location and get what we got was tough. The second thing that was really a big deal for me as I was thinking about limiting my risk and exposure with a brand new business was the term of the lease, and looking at that space. It's beautiful. If you've been to our shop, it's a phenomenal space, and we fill it up pretty good these days. It's full, but at first I was like, this is way more space than we need. But man, you had a great relationship, and this goes back to the relationships you have. You had a great relationship with the landlord, and when we met with them, it's a beautiful space, and they let me sign a very reasonable lease term.
That was amazing.
It was amazing.
When you came back and said, hey, this is what I did, I'm like,
yeah,
I can't believe, because other people were looking at it.
Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, we're going to have to do the 5-year lease. We're going to have to do all this. And you came back and like, nope.
Yeah.
Handled in it. And my wife went to school with our landlord. So it was kind of, and we're all Snohomish people. So it was kind of nice that I think that helped. I think the fact that
promise you would help.
Yeah, some of the stuff that has happened, it's like, okay, it's Snohomish people taking care of Snohomish people.
Absolutely. Well, I think having a background in negotiating leases that helped a little bit. I got a good financial background, but all that played a part of it. But the relationship is what really closed that gap and had them take that trust in us. And for me, could have been a deal killer. When you're starting a new business, so having to sign a 3 or 5 year lease, if things don't go well, you're still on the hook for that. And that's a huge potential liability. And so I felt good to be able to mitigate that risk and get a lease term that I was comfortable with. And we'll see how it goes at renewal time. But that went really well. The other thing I would mention is, just getting all of, it took some time to get, the business license set up. And you got to get set up with L&I. And there's just a lot of state agencies that we had to navigate through. And luckily, I have an awesome accountant who helped me with some of the structure. So having a really good accountant, if you're an investor, is really important. And then we did partner up with a really good bookkeeper, which really took the burden for being an absentee partner in this thing. It was important for me that we had kind of a third party who had experience doing the bookkeeping aspect of it, because it just, especially in partnerships, having all the money handled by a third party just puts everyone's mind at ease about that it's all going the right way. And then when it comes to, there's a lot on taxes. We have to file monthly taxes, quarterly taxes. We do retail sales, so there's sales tax. There's a lot of that, and trying to navigate that ourselves would have been very difficult. Having a experienced bookkeeper do that, I think, has brought us a long way. So a good accountant, a good bookkeeper who's got some experience. She set up a lot of the internal revenue stuff and the state tax requirements and things of that nature, and then really coached us and counseled us on some of the right ways to set up the accounting and getting the right software and all that. So there is a little bit to that, but it's been I think a really great team. And then you had, because we got such a good lease term, we weren't going to be able to negotiate a lot of tenant improvements. But man, your father-in-law,
oh my gosh,
he really,
well, and we had two of my friends' customers that were there the whole time.
Oh, they were there too, yeah.
They and so my father-in-law, of course, has his construction, or he does improvements, and yeah, he did all the work. We would have been probably at least another, I don't know, $80,000 in our build out for what we did. I mean, our build out was amazing.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the shop, because man, I've been to some off-road shops, and no offense to them, they're functional and they get the job done, but you feel like you're at a mechanic shop, and you guys were going for a totally different vibe with this. So maybe talk a little bit about how you guys set up the shop and the look and feel of it.
Well, I still wanted brick.
Yeah, we got the brick, though.
We got brick. So we ended up doing part of the showroom in brick. We also wanted leather chairs. We wanted someplace that was clean, bright, modern, and separate from the shop. Where a lot of shops, they have a door open where the mechanics are coming in and out. It smells terrible because like gear oil and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I had a vision for one bay to be enclosed with a barn door from the rest of the shop. So if we were doing inspections on vehicles, customers didn't have to go through a shop. They could go in this nice room. Well, we got the rest of the shop done, and our shop is beautiful. Every part of our shop is beautiful. So it's like, okay, I've never had a shop that any part you go into is clean, organized, and yeah, I've never seen that in a shop.
Yeah. I love the idea. First of all, the showroom I think is phenomenal, right? Because we have a lot of our gear, that we sell there. We can have, things that people would just come in and grab. It's very, seasonal. Bree does an awesome job. I'm sure there's Easter stuff there right now. At Christmas, there was some Christmas stuff. So, she does it themed based on the seasons and different gifts that people can pick up. So we kind of have a retail store there that I think is different and unique than a lot of shops, and the ability to have some of the common gear that you would need, recovery equipment, things of that nature that's available. Yeah, there's some nice chairs and a little fireplace.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the fireplace.
Yeah, a little coffee machine. And I mean, it's kind of a cool place to just kind of hang out, which you don't always see. They get the TVs up, and it just has a really good, clean vibe. I love that the first bay is kind of like a clean bay, right? I mean, it's got, some nice stuff up on the walls. It's got our logo up on the wall. But that's also got the alignment rack where, if someone comes in, if you're inspecting or, like you said, doing a delivery, you can take them into the clean bay, walk them around what was done to the shop. It really creates for a great experience, I think, for our customer as far as the reveal and not feeling like they have to be in the mechanic shop. And then we added, 7 more lifts or something?
We have 7 total.
7 total.
And we do all our reveals out of that first bay, which is kind of fun when we do a big build. So it's all clean, and it's kind of funny. She's done a couple lately, and it's like, is that even our shop? It's awesome. So.
Well, I think it's important to talk about the social media aspect of this, right? Because I think just like those of us in mortgage and real estate, if that's what you do for a living, we talk a lot about the need for social media. But what Bree's done with the Facebook page and Instagram and collaborating with other people in the off-road industry and just in the culture is phenomenal. I mean, and we've gotten a lot. We're look, we've only been open since December 1st, so we're only a couple months old, and we've gotten quite a bit of exposure organically through those efforts. And it just goes to show you, it doesn't matter if you're in mortgage and real estate or an off-road shop, leveraging social media is huge, and being involved in community events, right? The chamber has been awesome. The different events that we've already done and are going to do locally around Snohomish and other local markets here, that's the same kind of stuff, regardless of your business, you need to be involved in. And I feel like there's a good strategy there.
Also too, Bree's really passionate about it. She when she gets home at night, after she's done with the kids and feeding us and doing all that, she is working on our social media, and she loves it, and that shows through. And I've seen other shops that pay somebody to do their social media that isn't in the industry and doesn't understand, and you see some of the language is incorrect, and people pick up that really quick. So Bree knows. I mean, she's been a Jeep girl for since high school. So
yeah,
she's been in it, so she knows the lingo. But she also has this network of people that have kind of just jumped on and talked with her, support us, but they see her heart. And I think a lot of social media, if your heart's not in it, then find somebody's that is, because people see right through that. And that's, I think, what's different about ours. We're exploding. I've started 3 shops, and I've never had our social media do this until I've had my wife do it. So
yeah. Well, if you guys want to see our social media, go to Allied Motorsport. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook, and follow along with what we're doing. And we're just getting started, like I said, so more to come there. Let's talk a little bit about the shop. I get a lot of people say, an off-road shop, like, what does that even mean? Like, what do you guys do? So maybe walk us through, Dana, some of the main reasons why someone would stop by the shop. Like, who's the ideal customer? And then who are some of the customers that maybe you wouldn't think of, but that you're helping every day with everyday needs?
We get a lot of the Jeep and Bronco guys, and that are looking for a lift kit, lights. That's just kind of the normal stuff. On
bumpers, skid plates,
winches, all kind of the add-on stuff. And then we're getting the other people that have had a Jeep for a while, or Bronco, and they have death wobble, or it's not driving right, and we specialize in making rigs drive better. And then past that, we have customers that either have had hard times where they've had their vehicle break down, nobody will touch it, and we just, we'll help them out. And if we're not the right fit for what needs to be done, I can at least refer them to somebody that I would trust for repairs that we don't do, because we don't do engine work. That's something we stay away from, is internal engine work, but everything else we do. Yeah.
Well, I'll say that I have 3 Jeeps, and I've had others. My LJ, did most of the work myself. It had some bump steer. It just wasn't quite right. You guys may, moved a bracket, made some adjustments, and that thing drives flawlessly. My Gladiator, is on 40s with a 3.5-inch lift, and that thing drives like a Cadillac down the road. So it is super impressive. You think about a lifted vehicle, and you guys know, the right height, the right way to set them up so that they run properly. But we've even done some full-size rigs, right? Full-size,
We're doing one today. We're doing a full-size Dodge, a 5.5-inch lift. I mean, we do a lot of the full sizes. It's just kind of, we'll have one week we'll have 3 full sizes. The next week we'll have 3-4 Toyotas. All, it's kind of our whole, what we do. It's just every week's different, and I love it.
Yeah. There's a lot of thought that we just work on Jeeps, and it's so much more than that. And but you know, I personally am a Jeep guy, but hey, everyone is welcome. So the only other thing that I wanted to kind of touch on is, you know, I think if you're someone out there that is thinking about opening a business, let's be realistic about, you know, it does. You said it earlier. It's expensive. It's an investment, you know. And I really, you know, when we first met and you told me, hey, this is kind of what the budget is, I'm like, I can definitely do it for a lot less than that. Right. Now, I did it for a little bit less than that, but not really. I mean, you were pretty spot on, and I don't want to share those exact numbers, but it, you know, I think knowing up front what the financial commitment is going to be, and in addition to that, one thing you said to me, which, you know, I knew, but it was worth saying again, is that there's going to be a period of time where, you know, especially, I mean, we opened and started paying payroll before we even had a lift installed, right? So I had a period of time where no work's being done on rigs. We're still getting the shop set up, so no revenue coming in, you know. So we knew there would be 6 months or so where you're going to be covering payroll and other expenses without the revenue coming in. Now, I think we're going to be profitable way before 6 months. I think we're going to be profitable this month is my guess. And I think we're really close last month. But, you know, I think that for anyone looking to do a business, I think you just really have to be prepared for the investment that's necessary, and then set some funds aside. You know?
I was going to say have a backup,
a reserve, yeah,
because it's just, and that has helped me. You told me I'm probably going to put more money in,
yeah,
and I'm like, and Bree and I talked about it. It's like I don't want him to put more money in. But it also gave us the ability to be fearless on that. We did things if we were worried about failing, we wouldn't have done, and I don't think we'd be where we're at. We spent the money that we talked about, and in the back of my head, I knew if something went sideways, you know, we could talk about it and be taken care of. So I never worried about failing, and I think having your investor behind you saying, hey, even if we need to put some more money in, we can do that. It helped us stay on track with what we started with, but also do the right things.
Yeah.
And spend money. We spent money on some stuff that, you know, people are like, you know, you should probably hold back. Well, it was part of the showroom and some of the stuff that makes our shop what it is. So
yeah, and I think that, like I said, like you had given me a number. So I was committed to invest at least that number, and then, you know, some to make sure that, you know, I had some contingency. I set us a target that was quite a bit lower than that. And so I knew that, you know, that let's try to keep it in this budget. But you got to be willing to invest to make it right. Yeah. You know, like when we bought those last 3 lifts, it's like, you know, this is another, you know, capital infusion. But you look at the amount of rigs that we have coming through our shop, and then you just think about things like efficiency. You know, if you have a job that's being done on one lift, and then, you know, parts get delayed and it's halfway torn apart, but you want to start on another job, you have a lift available to do that without having to wait. So I think through, and this is, I think, where you talk about, you know, just the way my business mind works. It's like, okay, I can see spending the money now because it's going to save us money in the future, and I'm willing to make that investment, and I can see that things were going well. So there's just, I guess the only thing I would say to entrepreneurs looking to start a business like this is, first of all, have a budget, have a reserve beyond that, because not everything's going to go as planned, and then you got to stick to that plan, because it's hard month 2 and month 3, and you're writing checks and there's nothing coming in, and you start questioning, you know, your vision and your thought process, and you have to be committed, I think, to have it really go well. And we all had the commitment. You and Bree had the commitment, you know, when we hired our shop foreman and now the mechanic. I mean, these guys are committed. They're excited about what they're doing. My wife and I were, you know, excited about this, and we all had the belief we would get there, and we had a budget, and we stuck to it. And that's, like I said, it's not hard to do. It's easy to come up with a plan, And then as you start going, you start questioning things, and you really need to stick to your plan. And I got to give you guys a ton of credit. When Dana came over, he had the whole business plan, he had the budget, an idea of a location, and it gave me the confidence as an investor to say, look, there's a playbook here. We just have to follow. And being that I had worked with you in the past, to me, there was no question from the customer service side of it that we were going to, if we're going to do an off-road shop here locally, it's going to be one that I can be super proud of being involved with, and that our customers, if nothing else, are going to be treated right and get the product that they're looking for. Because I know every time I came to you for help, I got exactly what I was looking for, and that was awesome.
Well, and I think past that too is you have to love it. I know some other shops that the people did it for an investment, but the people that were running it didn't love the job, and I think it's too hard to do what we do if you're not all in. So even if you have a general manager, or you find people that love what you're doing, then that makes a difference. I mean, I was at the shop last night till 8, and it's like a vacation. I mean, I love my job, and Bree calls me, hey, dinner's ready. I put it in the microwave for you so it stays warm, and it's just awesome that we have this team. But like I say, I just love being there. So
yeah,
and that helps. I can't imagine being at a job that I don't love and having to work those long hours.
Yeah,
because I would not do it. So
well, and that's just one of many things that I think parallel, the mortgage industry, the real estate industry, really any industry. Like, you have to have a passion for it. When people hear that people that know me well hear that I am involved in an off-road shop, they're like, well, that makes sense, because you have a ton of passion about it, and that's all you talk about. So for me too, as an investor, I'm passionate about it, right? And so that even though I'm not working the day-to-day like you are, it does keep me excited about where we're going with this business. And so anyways, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, this conversation, and I hope that you could draw some parallels between whether it be your business in mortgage and real estate, or even if you have considered starting a business, maybe this could be some inspiration. I welcome any other questions, comments, or reach out to me directly if you have further questions about this. And we mentioned the social media, but shop is on Bickford Avenue, in Snohomish, right there, next to Sound to Summit Brewery, just down from Bickford Ford. So if you are local to this market, I encourage you to swing by and check it out. And like anything, and like I say with this podcast, let people know about it. We are definitely looking for referrals and recommendations. We're a new business just getting started, and it's going very, very well, but not everyone knows that we even exist. So if you're local to the market and you know someone with an off-road vehicle looking for some enhancements, Allied Motorsport's the place to go. Any final thoughts, Dana? No? All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate the audience for taking the time and checking us out on this episode. Please let people know about market shares. I'm gonna really think as we move forward. We got some great guests coming up on market shares, and we're gonna be adventurous with our topics that we discuss. And I hope you enjoy it. If you do and you want to see the next episode, just subscribe, because we drop a new episode here every single Friday at 10 a.m. And until next time, take care.